Battlefield 3 Aftermath has been out now for a bit for premium members of the game. Arriving on the PC and Xbox 360 last week, I've had a good number of chances to check out the new content, and here I am ready to deliver my verdict to you. Aftermath is a great expansion to the game, offering up 4 new maps, a new game mode, Scavenger, a crossbow unlock, new assignments, new dog tags, revised character models that better fit with the theme of the map, and plenty of aftershocks. The levels feature some fantastic gameplay, provided you're playing on some of the standard modes such as Conquest. Trenches carved into roads and terrain as a result of the quote-unquote earthquake that hit these new areas prior are a common sight in Aftermath. The same can be said for crumbling buildings, debris-filled landscapes, and just a general sense that Mother Nature really had her way with these new areas. So while you may be used to diving into a map with everything intact from the start, Aftermath's maps already have that destroyed sense about them before the first shot is ever fired. The problem I have with Aftermath is the fact that many of these maps look too similar. They all feature the same color palette, which is brown for those of you who are wondering. In fact, I initially thought that there were only 3 new maps in Aftermath because of how closely they all resemble one another. I'm not saying they're bad maps, not at all, but I suppose a lot of the similar nature of these maps stems from the fact that they all take place in roughly the same geographic location and were all obviously hit by the same fictional earthquake. The Scavenger game mode was also introduced in the Aftermath DLC. I can't say I'm a huge fan of it, but I'll explain why in just a moment. Scavenger is a bit like the old school competitive modes from yesteryear. Instead of everyone starting out with their fully custom loadouts, you start only with a pistol. The only way to acquire more robust weapons are to find them and pick them up from predetermined points on the map. These weapons are limited on ammo, and without the ability to drop ammo caches, you will have to constantly swap out for fresh weapons, assuming you live that long. So not only is Scavenger part team deathmatch, it's also part Conquest. Each map has a series of points that can be captured, and just like in Conquest, the tickets will count down faster on the opposing side if you hold a majority of the points. Spawns are random if you don't spawn on a teammate, meaning that death can come from any direction, which is a bit annoying if you're used to playing Conquest, where you at least have some vague idea where the front line of enemies will be coming from. Couple this with a relative lack of spawn protection, and you should expect to die quite often in this game mode. It should also be noted that the Scavenger game mode uses very small versions of the new Aftermath maps. Honestly, I didn't actually care much for the new maps at first, since all I was playing was the Scavenger game mode, in order to, hit that 3-win mark to unlock the new crossbow weapon. Once that was done, I ventured into Conquest variations, and my opinion of these maps did a complete 180. While not as large as the maps found in the Armored Warfare expansion, Aftermath's maps present a decently sized area in which to fight. No, they're not big enough for jets, but every other vehicle is present, including the smaller helicopters and even some new armored ground vehicles, making this a great expansion for those who like fighting it out in tanks and armored vehicles, and for those who prefer to be a foot soldier. To be honest, this is my favorite expansion released thus far for Battlefield 3. While I enjoyed the previous 2, there was always something about each of those that really held me back from truly enjoying them. Close Quarters was nothing more than some Call of Duty sized maps and people running around all the time. While fun once in a while, I found myself craving some vehicle fun. Armored Warfare went in the complete opposite direction, making battles on foot somewhat annoying and often forcing you into a vehicle for most of the round. Aftermath at least presents a good balance, which is something I adore. I'm sure not everyone will agree with my choice, but the medium-sized urban maps from the core game still remain some of my favorites, and Aftermath fits into this category quite nicely. The crossbow, once unlocked, is a decent weapon for those who become proficient at using it. You can unlock explosive tips for the crossbow, which makes killing with it quite a bit easier. The drop-off of the arrow while in flight is quite extreme, so there is quite a high learning curve with using it. It doesn't feel as though it's unbalanced, nor does it really feel like a gimmicky addition to the game, which I'm sure many here were worried about. A few smaller additions to the game came with Aftermath, including a few new dog tags. Y'all know the drill with those by now. Simply meet the requirements outlined for each tag, and bam, it's yours. Another neat little addition is the fact that the character skins are now a bit more worse for the wear than in the rest of the game. Foreheads are visibly cut and bleeding. Dirt is caked into their skin and clothes. Basically, it looks like these guys got messed up in a massive earthquake and then kept right on fighting afterwards. It's not much, but I appreciated that little touch. Another cool little addition to these maps are the mini aftershocks that will occur during a round, shaking your screen and offering some rumbling sounds. I would have loved to have seen this taken a bit further. Perhaps these aftershocks could have toppled over some of the already crumbling buildings, creating new pathways or closing off old pathways as the round progresses. The idea of a dynamically changing map in this expansion seems like a hugely missed opportunity for DICE. There are some outstanding issues still present in the game that I would have loved to have seen addressed with the release of Aftermath. It's probably at this point where I'm going to give up hope of ever seeing these things fixed, such as seeing enemies spawn right before my eyes on the squad mate of theirs that I'm already shooting at. But as this isn't limited to Aftermath, I can't knock this expansion for anything there. It's a fun expansion. Probably the best one released thus far if you're into hybrid gameplay with vehicles and being a foot soldier. The maps are a joy to play, even if you don't always know which specific brown-colored earthquake-ravaged map you're currently fighting in. And unless you're a huge fan of the scavenger game type, it's honestly really nothing to write home about, and I'll probably continue to stick with the conquest game type more. But hey, at least it's still better than the tank superiority mode from Armored Kill. So with that, so ends our review for Battlefield 3 Aftermath. If you have yet to pick up any of the Battlefield 3 expansions, I would have to say that this is probably the best one thus far, and the one that fits with my interests the most. Again, it's my personal preference, and I'm sure this won't apply to everyone. As always, this has been Zips with Total Gaming Network and CS Nation. We'll catch you next time.